Hey, agency owners, welcome to another episode of the Smart Agency Masterclass. I am Jason Swenk, and I have an amazing guest, Dan, where we're going to talk about his building his agency over the past 4 years, but also what he's learned. He was one of the very early employees at Google. I think he was telling me back in 2003 or 2004. He can correct me in a second. And we're going to talk about really amazing things. So I can't wait. But before we get into the episode, I want you to do something. I want you to take a screenshot of the podcast and then upload it to your favorite social media, tag us so I can give you a shout out for listening to the show. And let's go ahead and jump into it and talk to Dan. Hey, Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah, man, excited to have you on. So tell us who you are and what do you do?
My name is Dan Sundgren. I started an agency over 4 years ago with a partner of mine, Scott Freeborn. The genesis of our agency is Freegren. After a long and laborious naming process, we mashed our names up at 5 o'clock and decided to call it good. And we named our company Freegren because we're a 50-50 two-headed beast. And we've just had a blast the last 4 years building our little agency up here in the Northwest. Scott came from Dex Media. My experience was with Google and AOL and Merkle. Worked in-house and built teams for 20 plus years, done quite a few things, and managed, in my estimation, over $1 billion in paid advertising, which at the very least gives me some scars on my back to figure something out.
Yeah.
In the future. So that's what we're doing.
So I have one question that I have to ask. Are you the one that would send out the AOL CDs to us?
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, those
for all the old people. For us to get on the internet, AOL literally used to send out CDs so we can get on the internet. They give us like 50 hours.
Yeah, the stacks of CDs just carpet bombed in the mailboxes. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, tell us, what did you do for Google? And tell us a little bit about the early days. And did I get it right in the intro? Was it 2003 or 4?
Yeah, I started towards the end of 2003.
Wow.
So
that must have been crazy seeing all that growth.
It was wild. We weren't public yet. We would go down to campus in Mountain View because we started the Seattle office, a handful of us, to really support the sales operation. The engineers weren't even here yet. And we had these global sales summits down there every year for the first 3 years, I think, we would Google would rent the village at Lake Tahoe and just run wild, and engineers would be running around with bottles of booze, and it was a wild time. It was a very wild time. Got to meet Chef Charlie, who's, I don't know if you know the backstory, but Larry and Sergey hired the Grateful Dead's chef. So Chef Charlie was the guy who invented the entire food ecosystem at Google with just this gorgeous spreads and sushi bars and, the works, right? That was his genesis of like taking extra good care of people with their stomachs. So it was really crazy to watch them reinvent the way companies even think about employees. Really, that's what they were doing.
Well, I love the movie Internship that features Google. Like pre-show, I was like, "Is it really like that?" And you were like, "No, it's just a lot more drinking."
Well, I was in the sales team, so yeah. So there was definitely a class system at Google. And I think it's very engineering run. Sales is sort of, I think, in the big picture at the company, sales and marketing is sort of a nice to have. I guess we got to have those folks, but really the brain trust, and it always has been, is with engineers. It's an engineering driven company. Not all tech companies are, though, right? Some are very sales rooty, like, some are, a little both, but they're still very hardcore. The engineers are running it. We know what's best for the user, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what it is today because it's so big, but
yeah. Well, I remember my dad was my stockbroker for many, many years. I remember when Google was about to go public, and I said, I want to buy stock. I want to buy a lot of stock. Um, and he goes, no, 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 $45 is way too much.
Reverse Dutch auction. Yeah, I remember they came out with that, and the engineers again decided, and Larry and Sergey were like, "We're smarter than the market. We're going to do a reverse Dutch auction." And all the brokers were like, well, "You can't do that." Like, why not? And they did. They've constantly done things that are contrarian to what you're supposed to do, which I always found super refreshing, especially when I was working there. But I've watched them for the last 17, 18 years. Geez, continue to do things that sometimes you scratch your head and like there's always something, right? Like Jason, like, oh no, broad modified's going away, or there's a big algo change. I'm like, yeah, okay. They're just gonna keep. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
they're
So
they're constantly tinkering with it.
what have you learned from them and your years at Google? And did you guys call each other Googlers? What did you guys?
Nooglers. Yeah, I got my right behind me is my hat. See the new? That's called a Noogler hat.
Oh, it is true.
No, you had to wear it your first day, and it had a propeller.
Oh, that's funny. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
around campus. So it's a real thing. I think what I've taken away is that you don't necessarily have to have hard and fast rules. There's always a different way to look at things. There's always a different way to flip things on their head and kind of think about it differently. But um, they inherently do obsess over their employees. They take ridiculously good care. And again, now it's 150,000 people, definitely different company. But it was clear from the get go that this was a new paradigm of corporations of we want to take care of every need you have in your personal life as well. I mean, nursing stations and dry cleaning and like all that stuff, it all kind of adds up to you feel like you're in a very comfortable environment that you don't have to worry about a lot and you can just do great work and really they have the 10 was it the 10% time or 20% time, sorry, 20, which again, one of those little Google things like take a day every week and just spitball stuff. Like, you know, that was unheard of, really.
Yeah.
HP and Dell weren't doing that.
No. No. They were
You
too
know?
corporate.
Yeah, yeah. And so we try to like with our little agency, we don't have any employees actually. We built a virtual agency from the day one. Scott and I have very, very deeply in trusted partners, and we rely on them to do a lot of the heavy lifting and the nitty gritty. But that's for with 20 years of vetting really good partners that we've entrusted those people as part of our company, but they're independent contractors.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because I mean, you're uh, a couple million in revenue, and it's just you two, but you guys use contractors and strategic partners. And a lot of people are like, well, how do you do that? Right? Like, walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's probably the hardest thing to do and also the most important. Um, Luckily, I've been very involved for 20 years in marketing networking groups. So we have a group up here in the Northwest called Seattle Interactive, and I've been on the board of that since the inception. There's another group in Portland that's fantastic. It's they throw a search fest every year. It's SEM PDX, and I'm sort of the Seattle liaison there. So over the years, I've slowly built this base on LinkedIn, for instance, of 4 or 5 thousand people that I've met and talked to, and kissed babies and shook hands and worked the floor and kind of got out there, and through that genesis, you start to build a couple things: a big network, but also B sort of the spidey sense of people that you would want to work with and you can inherently trust, and you can feed off each other in a positive way. So you can kind of weed through a lot of that. And the metamorphosis of that great network is when we started this, I just started calling people that I was like, so and so is really good. We should talk to them. And putting those building blocks in place. And those partners are with us today, 4 years later.
Very cool.
So Yeah, but it's hard, and there's challenges, right? Not having employees versus outsourcing. Um, I'll be the first one to admit that when we want look to scale a little bit, and and people tap out as far as their time and what they have to give you because they have other clients too, we have to find some bench strength, and that's we were very, very careful and meticulous about that. Um,
So how are you
we have
always recruiting that talent then, and making sure like you can fill?
Yeah, it's through my network. Just literally asking around and talking to different folks, remembering people. Oh, that I remember that guy was a WordPress developer, and I met him. He was solid. And kind of we interview and vet them like you might an employee, but for what they do as a contractor. And we have some hard and fast rules. We're myopic. I'll admit it. Like we are U.S. based. We just are myopic that way. I want, and even selfishly, I'd like them to be on the West Coast. And even more selfishly, it'd be great if they're in the backyard in Seattle or Portland, uh, because there's just so much great talent and good people. And then there's sort of that affinity. And um, when you build a big network, you have a reputation to uphold, and you know this as well as anyone, right? Your name is your brand, is your worth to sort of the greater thing out there, which is business. And I take that pretty seriously. Like if you spend 20 years nurturing a career, you don't want to sabotage it by going out and doing crappy work and not taking care of clients, and because the word kind of gets out, and you just don't want to be that person. You just want to continue to keep that bar high.
Well, it takes what, 20 years to build a brand and 1 second to tear it down,
Yeah, right. Yeah, good adage. Yeah,
right? Like we've seen that with many. I mean, I used to work for Arthur Andersen out of school.
there you
And
go.
right, and so we saw, that was one of the biggest brands, out there in the consulting practice, and then boom, gone. So it's you got to be very, very careful at that. Um, what is this has all been amazing, and I love to kind of see the origin story and how you kind of tapped into that. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you think the audience would benefit from, of what you've learned over the past 4 years of growing your agents? And congrats very quickly.
Thanks. Well, a few nuggets I think that, and again, I'm super transparent and love to share like you, so nothing's sort of off the table there. But some nuggets that we picked up from the get go, and still hold true. Like the recurring revenue piece to me is the gold. I just don't know how these web development shops go out and build their book every year. It's a head scratcher, and it just seems like a nightmare to me. That's just my 2 cents. So we built really solid recurring revenue streams in for PPC, SEO, website maintenance and hosting, where it's very repeatable. It's we can forecast with it pretty well. I mean, I could tell you probably in 12 months where we'll be, in the big picture, and it continues to build on itself. And we built our agency purposely pretty slow. Where I call it like we're like a snake, right? Like we'll eat a big mouse, and then we'll take some time and digest, and we won't worry about getting a new client until we get that one dialed in and really plugged in and make their phone ring. Then we'll move into the next mouse. And so we built it really slow on purpose, with that recurring revenue in place, so that we have a predictable business model. And that's kind of been something that's been really critical to our success, I think. And then you and I were talking before the show. One of the best things you can do is figure out what you don't know. Like, what are your blind spots, and what's coming, right? Because I was selling 88 by 31 banners in '99, and that was it. And 468 by 60s. So clearly things have gotten a little different.
Little bit, little change.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's always changing in yeah, social media, and like all the new flavors of media. You're still trying to reach an audience, but there's just different ways to do it, different platforms, what's up and coming.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
break some eggs to make an omelet. And, if Pinterest is something that we should try for our clients, let's give it a test. Let's not be afraid to just, I don't want to stay like, this is what we do. These are the 4 channels we only know. But also not, spread yourself too thin and try and stay in your lane a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's that balance, right?
Yeah. It totally is. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you on reoccurring revenue. Like we all want, like, we all get into the agency space or create a business for predictability and freedom and money. But a lot of times we create this kind of prison around us, and we don't have predictability, we don't have freedom, we don't have money, right? Like, and we keep
Yeah.
hiring more people. Um, but when you actually start figuring out some of that, like our agency, we were 80% project based, and how we got through it and how we created predictability is we just created a huge pipeline. Like, I was chatting with a good buddy of mine a little while ago, and he was talking about how he's starting to resent some of his clients. And I told him, I said, look, buddy, like, you're resenting your clients because you have a lead generation problem, because you're too reliant on the existing client base rather than having overabundance of people coming to you and then you just picking and choosing and then charging what you're actually worth. But I agree with you on the reoccurring revenue, and also too of like, if you're not always learning, like, that's always been a core value in our agency and our business now, even when we bring on people in the mastermind of like, you have to always like be like, what am I learning today? What are the lessons that today taught me? Or what are the lessons that the mistakes that I made last week or 2 seconds ago, which happens a lot.
Right.
That's what my
Right.
team tells me a lot. So,
No, absolutely. And knowing when to say no, when I say stay in your lane, Jason, it's like, if a client came to us and said, hey, do you guys do TV and radio? We trust you implicitly with the digital. I would be the first one to go, we absolutely don't have any core expertise there. That's staying in your lane. It's hard enough to stay on top of what we do.
like,
But maybe I could find a partner, or maybe I could vet around town, whatever. I think a lot of you get in that trap of, no, let's do everything.
mm,
Let's do 15 different disciplines. And if you do want to get into that, get some subject matter experts, either employees or contractors, and get someone good to really do the work. Don't pretend you can, learn on the fly sometimes.
yeah.
Uh, if you're
No,
going to
and
slot that in.
yeah, and when you go to your clients that give you that great honor, be like, we trust you explicitly to do this, and you go, hey, we don't feel comfortable with it, but let me connect you to 2 or 3 people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you, like, you're the connector. Like,
Yeah.
they will
Yeah.
always come to you, and they're coming to you for a problem, and they'll keep coming rather than you take on a project that you just totally botch, and then it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're setting yourself up, really, if you take that other
Exactly.
path.
That's,
And trust is it. I mean, I guess that's the big one, right? That's the cornerstone of everything is trust. And you probably hear it time and again from the best client relationships are that, just, it's like relationship. Like, you've gone through the fire, you've broken some eggs to make the omelet, you've fixed things that have broken. But you know what? That's good, because it's like the Nordstrom thing, right? When you go to Nordstrom, I don't know, I've been in Nordstrom in years, but their whole mantra was, you don't like it? Well, we'll take care of it. Like, we're just going to take care of it. And you just know that when you go in. It's that white glove service of, things are going to go haywire, but we will fix them. We'll make it right. We'll answer our phone. I can't tell you how much negligence we continue to run into in the agency world. It's kind of disturbing still, to take a client from an agency up the road, and they have no idea what they're getting. They've just been stroking a check for 10 years. The guy won't call them back.
oh yeah.
They don't they don't know where their Google Analytics and their data is. They have no idea what's going on. And they're paying like $8,000 a month for 10 years. And the guy that won't courtesy call them back. And it's still happening.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we started our shop, because Scott worked at a company, and a lot of that was happening, and you're just like, that just shouldn't still be happening, but it is.
Yeah, I it's amazing. So many people go to me as they're starting out. They go, what's the secret to scaling fast?" I said, "You have to be better than everyone else in the service that you deliver." Like, because I see so many, uh, these people will be nameless, but there's so many people that are really good at marketing themselves and selling, but then on delivery, they fall down and they're like, "Why
Yeah,
can't we grow?" But then they keep putting out content to show people that. I'm like, good gosh, like your model is broken. Like, take that dog behind the shed and shoot it. Like,
yeah,
stop. Like, you're not built for this. So, but yeah, yeah. So it's always a breath of fresh air when I find people that can deliver results and that actually care, about that. So, congrats on your success. What's the
yeah.
website address where people can go and check out the agency?
It's free, FREEGREN.com.
Awesome.
Or Jason, you can go to nobullshit.agency,
Oh, I like that one better. You should lead with that one.
and you'll end up on our homepage.
There you go. No bullshit dot
Dot
agency.
a-
Oh, I love
yeah.
it. Yeah, go there. Use that URL. That's way better.
It's it's a little, I guess, it'd be a little bit kind of
No,
in your
no,
face
no,
to
no,
throw it
no.
out there,
Like,
but
look,
we
like the people that you want to work with, just since you said that, like the people that you don't want to work with, they'll be the ones that get offended. It's kind of like what I say on the mastermind. Like on our mastermind page, like one of our first core value is no douchebags. And if you're offended by it, well, you're probably not going to do well.
probably get that camp, yeah.
So
We use the
definitely,
Tommy Boy quote. I could trust a butcher and put my head up a cow's ass, but I might as well trust the butcher. That old quote.
exactly. I could
Yeah,
quote
it's
that
kind
whole
of
movie. The
yeah. Oh
guarantee
God,
is the best part.
yeah.
I got time.
Uh, yeah, the movie quote. I could talk in movie quotes probably for a good 5 minutes.
I think we should just come up with a podcast just to talk movie quotes.
We should do it. We should do it. That'd be a challenge. How long can you talk in movie quotes?
Oh, I could do it for a long time. I mean, I just go back
Mm-hmm.
to the 80s and 90s movies that I grew up on, you know,
Exactly.
Happy Gilmore,
Yeah.
Billy Madison,
Yeah.
Ace
Yeah.
Ventura,
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we're so derailed. What a bad host
We're
at me, but funny.
no. I like, yeah. Derailing's good sometimes.
Well,
Just
awesome.
getting derailed.
Well, everyone go check out nobullshit.agency. I love that URL. See, I even remember it. I don't even remember the other one. So
Memorable. I know. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
memorable. So go
Yeah.
check that out. And if you guys want to be surrounded by amazing agency owners, because look, we all have blind spots like we talked about, and other people can see them a lot better. I want to invite all of you to go to the digitalagencyelite.com and see if you qualify to be with the best agency owners all over the world, sharing what's working now so you guys can grow your agency and scale it a lot faster and create that predictability, that freedom, and the money that you want, and really the impact that you can have on the world. So go do that now. And until next time, have a swank day.